The NCAA is a billion-dollar industry, make no mistake about it. And the key investment that African Americans and people of color invest into these programs are our very futures, our children. But what does it say about an organization that is targeted by racists every which way? There are three stories this week coming out of the NCAA that we're going to focus on today on the Ujamaa Network. I'm Antoine Anderson. Let's get into it.
Uh, Racism is real and it happens, and it's awful, um, and it was really upsetting. And for our players and staff to not feel safe in an NCAA tournament environment, it's messed up.
Far too many times these incidents happen and we kind of brush them off as one-offs, but they're not really one-offs. This particular incident involves the ladies basketball team from Utah, coached by Lynn Roberts. And it was her that just made these comments about what happened to her team when they went to go get something to eat in this little Idaho town. Now, the tournament was actually being played in Washington, Spokane. And the hotel where the ladies were staying was in this little Idaho town, which is about 40 minutes away. Now, the problem is that when these ladies decided to go to a local restaurant to get something to eat, upon leaving, they were greeted by individuals in pickup trucks, jacked up pickup trucks, and were served up a helpful serving of local racism, and it's that kind of deal. But what I am talking about here is the pure investment side. On Black Investments Matter, we're talking about investments, how to build those investments up. But what greater investment does the Black community have other than our children who are making these institutions and these programs very, very rich? The NCAA tournament per year is a $15 billion industry. Each year, it's over $1 billion in revenue each year that is generated by both the teams and the sponsorships, what have you. It's $15 billion just in what's going on in the betting sphere. That's more money than 51 nations as far as their GDP is measured. We bet more money on these games than some countries earn in their gross domestic product. Think about that for a second. Now, while we attempt to process that, right on the heels, you got another story coming out of Michigan. This time it is the Gonzaga men's basketball team who were racially profiled and called illegal invaders for the simple crime of getting off a plane and getting on some buses to go to their tournament. Unfortunately, MAGA Matt Maddox, the state representative who made the tweet, didn't check the facts of who these people were and decided to dive into some very hot button issues involving the current illegal immigration caucus. But it's not even so much what he said, it was who he said it to. If you look at the tag, it was none other than the chairman of the Michigan GOP party. Yeah, he tagged that individual. Now, Matt was recently kicked out of the caucus for some action that he committed on the state floor. And he's no longer allowed to caucus with his own party. But he is a always Trumper, and it is these kind of antics that give Black conservatives a little bit of pause when they want to try to support some of the policies that come out by the Republican Party. Now, quite frankly, a lot of times those policies are overshadowed by these kind of antics, and there's no reason for anyone to think otherwise, that just because you agree on one issue that the party's platform as a whole has your best interests at heart, and it actually doesn't. And it is these kind of stories that force African American voters, conservative African American voters, to make a choice. And these choices have to do with your survival first, then your finances. So be mindful of what is going on around you. Even if something as trivial as sports, it is just that serious. You cannot support a party that has this much disdain for your very existence, no matter how much you think they are benefiting you financially with policies. It's just not always the case. Understand that too. Now, the third tie-in has to do with what Kay Ivey, the governor of Alabama, just pushed through. Along with Ron DeSantis over in Florida, these laws banning funding, public funding, or federal funding to the public institutions that teach racial diversity and inclusion. This one is a slap in the face to everybody who plays for those teams, and you also kind of hamstring the recruitment efforts of those universities because both Alabama State and University of Alabama are public schools. So if you're banning funding to these schools based on certain criteria on these 8 divisive topics and concepts, which I'm going to list here and let you go through it, it kind of makes it a little bit harder for these schools to attract young, impressionable Black students to your schools when their parents look at what's going on politically. Now, you've already got hamstring because Nick Saban is no longer going to be coaching. He's retired. Who do you have now to pick up the mantle as far as the recruitment efforts are concerned? This is going to affect your bottom line. Black parents that I know are not thrilled about this decision. It really flies in the face of any logic of why you would do this at this time, especially when there is so much NIL money, that's names, image, and likeness for the players. Why would I go to University of Alabama at this time? If I was a pro football player or basketball player, why would I do that? There are so many other programs that I can compete with and go to so I can compete on a professional level. Why would I do that? It's a question that only Kay Ivey and the people who promoted and passed this bill can answer. Now, what is going to be the ultimate effect of that? Well, I think you already know what's happening with universities like the University of Colorado U, and the program that Deion Sanders has put together. This is not to say that every 5-star athlete is going to be beating down his door, but you just made it a little bit easier for them to choose elsewhere. These organizations are going to have to start looking at the cost of these decisions and seeing the financial impact of what happens when you can't recruit those same individuals who wanted to be inclusive and diverse campuses, who want to be part of that. And you're saying, now we're all here. But the thing about this bill that flies in my face is the Section E. It has nothing to do with any divisive concept. It has to do with never having to say you're sorry for anything that happened in the past. What does that mean? Well, you guys go ahead and read it for yourself and you ask yourself, what does it mean? I'm going to leave it here. I'm going to wait for these comments to come in. I know there's going to be a lot of it. But honestly, what are you really arguing about? No one's ever asked you for an apology, and no one ever will, because there's nothing you can say to kind of wash away not just the past, but our present of what's going on in this community. It affects everything. And until we start realizing that, not to make you say you're sorry, you can apologize for it. Just, leave your comments. Let me know what you think, and let's keep it pushing.